Detroit Den 313. We're back. Steve and Will together like we should be. You know what to do before we get this thing started. Hit the subscribe button and don't forget that bell icon so you don't miss any of our new content. Steve, what are we talking about?
Well, I'd be a fool if I said we weren't talking NFL draft with 12 days to go.
Can't wait.
I'd be a fool.
Can't wait.
Interesting little note came out the other day about the draft attendees. Got us thinking. You asked the question: is it possible that we don't see a Detroit Lions player walk across the stage with the amount of attendees that are going to be in attendance in Detroit for the draft in a couple weeks here? Is it possible that the Detroit Lions select a player and we don't get to see him walk across the stage?
Steve, man, when we found out that this draft was happening in Detroit, both of us were overjoyed. We were pumped. We said we will be there. Mm-hmm. We will be there, period. Like, don't care what we need to do. It's kind of like the Super Bowl, except we'll be at that too. But I guess obviously the Super Bowl trumps the draft. But when something like this happens, we don't know if it'll ever be back in our lifetime, and we're going to be present for it. So now we got two big hurdles that I think are in front of us. One, Brad Holmes trading back in the draft and us not even selecting somebody in the first round. That was a hurdle enough, man, because I think that there's a strong possibility of that actually going down. But now you're going to tell me that there's a potential that the guy we select, we're not even going to get to see him walk across stage. We're not even going to be able to hand him a Detroit Den 313 flyer and tell him that he's more than welcome to come on the show. Like, what is going on, Steve? Do you think that this is a true possibility that we might not be able to see our guy walk across the stage?
With only 13 players being invited and seeing some of the names, I would say that the odds are not in the Detroit Lions' favor. And what's going to piss me off even more is I think we're going to watch a Chicago Bear walk across the stage twice. I think we're going to watch a Minnesota Viking potentially walk across the field or the stage twice, and maybe even the Green Bay Packers. But just looking at some of these names, like Caleb Williams, obviously not going to be a Detroit Lion. Drake May, Marvin Harrison Jr., Jaden Daniels, all those guys, more than likely, barring some absolute curveball from Brad Holmes, will not become a Detroit Lion and are more likely to become a Chicago Bear. So, yeah, I think just looking at the odds, we're picking 29. There's 13 names. These are some big names. We're not talking sleepers here. These are some pretty household names coming out of college, unless you're brand new to college football. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to see a guy walk across and get handed the Lions jersey, shake hands with the commissioner. I don't think we're going to see any of it. So, in my opinion, screw it. Might as well just trade back into the second round now. Might as well. Makes no difference to me anymore.
So, Steve, when I look at this group of 13, as I got the list in front of me, man, I'm looking at some of the names you mentioned already. Terrion Arnold, Jaden Daniels, Marvin Harrison Jr., J.C. Latham, Latu. Drake May, Quinyon Mitchell, Malik Neighbors, Roma Duce, Darius Robinson, Brian Thomas, Dallas Turner, and Caleb Williams. Two names that stick out to me that are going to be there in attendance that could potentially be Detroit Lions. Darius Robinson, he's been mocked to us in 17 million drafts. He wants to be a Detroit Lion. It's pretty known that he wants to be a Detroit Lion. Is that somebody that you think the Detroit Lions could be taken at pick 29? And do you think that feel-good story could turn into something? I know we've been up and down on him. We've said that we don't love him, but when you really think about, because I haven't, being honest, when you think about the culmination of everything, the totality of it, him being a Michigan guy, right? Setting the record straight, 50-50 on them. But regardless, we root for our Michigan guys when they're not playing the Lions. Being a Michigan guy, wanting to play for the Detroit Lions, that history, him playing a position of need for us potentially, do you think the totality of everything, the feel-goodness of it, would be worth selecting him at 29? Have you changed your mind?
No, I'm still 50-50. But I do think it's cute that he wants to be a Detroit Lions fan. It's cute. It's cute, kind of like, when Stevie P was a little boy and he went as Halloween as Batman for 4 years. It doesn't mean I turned into Bruce Wayne. Okay, let's just be honest. Yeah, he's probably the only name on the list that's realistic. I think all the other guys are going to require a trade, or they're quarterbacks that we're not in the market for in the first round. Again, unless Brad Holmes pulls a rabbit out of his hat that nobody sees coming and moves up to 4 and swaps with Arizona and we take a quarterback for some reason. I just don't see that happening. But yeah, Darius Robinson's probably the only one on the list that's a realistic option to be walking across the stage. Dark horse, two dark horses, maybe for also you'd still have to trade up is probably Kenyon Mitchell and Latu. Those are probably the only two that are kind of in our maybe range, but we'd probably have to make a move to go up and get them.
Quinyon Mitchell is a guy I think he'll go early, if unless people know something about some other corner, because I think that Nate Wiggins is the only one that's really contending with him to be the best corner in this draft, in my opinion. So I believe that he'll be gone. But Latu is a guy that is interesting to me. He's interesting. But before I leave Darius Robinson, I will say this. He's not somebody that I'm locked in on as, saying that I want him at pick 29. But now that I really think about the totality of the whole thing in that moment, what that moment would be like for him, his family, what it would mean to go to a place that you want to be at, I would be cheering for him. And I know we've said it here. We're going to cheer for whoever gets drafted in that Honolulu Blue, whether we love the pick or we're not. We're a little bit unsure, and we're going to trust Brad. But the totality of everything, putting myself in his shoes, thinking about what that would feel like, I'm going to cheer for him if he gets selected. But back to Latu. Now, somebody that I would instantly be overjoyed. I think maybe, just maybe, it's weird when you see these things behind the scenes, when you relook at championship runs or great runs by teams and dynasties. A lot of the time, situations just happen by luck, by chance, by, just divine intervention, some would say. And I feel like that's what Brian Branch was. I feel like that's what Jared Goff, don't die on air, Steve.
No promises.
But that's what Jared Goff was when he got here. We thought he was a bridge, and he's played really well. So when I think about Latu, could we be in another Brian Branch situation to where people are a little bit unsure because of the next situation? People maybe view him as a potential solid player, a potential good player, but they're a little shy because of the risk of the injury. Could he slide to 29 because of that reason? And you said it, and we've talked about it off air. I really think that Latu in that Sam linebacker position that we use could be special. We could be talking about a situation where you have Aiden Hutchinson, Aleem McNeil, DJ Reader, Marcus Davenport, and then on the edge of that, for snaps, you got a Latu. Then you still got your Anzalone and Jack Campbell there in the middle. It could be a dangerous, lethal situation. It excites me. So I know that I've talked about him. You watched us enough. You know that for the most part, I'm looking at bolstering this offensive line. But as I look at this list of guys, man, those are two names that I could see shaking the hands of the commissioner, holding up that Honolulu #1 jersey and coming to the Detroit Lions and having a solid career.
Just let me know who I have to Photoshop in that Remy Tunzel gas mask getting high, and that's what I'll do to give him a chance to slide to 29 at the Lions. If it's Kenyon Mitchell, if it's Latu, if it's Roma Dunze, if it's Caleb Williams, like I could Photoshop that on there. We can get the Lions army behind us, get those retweets out there, and we don't have to convince people that it's true. Yeah. We do like an hour before draft, and we just create a little bit of reasonable doubt. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is him getting high. Just saying, there's options.
I wonder what happened with our boy CJ Stroud. I mean, he caught a little traction about how the dude he's not smart, he can't test, he's not going to be any good. I wonder maybe we need to get with whoever did that for the Texans and see if they can do that for us.
Yeah. Those are the three guys that I'm really looking at. Here's a question for you.
Talk to me.
Do you think the city of Detroit's kind of getting shorted here on the amount of attendees compared to the past? Now, I know before we came on air, we were trying to find the average of how many college players are actually in attendance to walk across the stage. Couldn't find the number, but 13 seems very, very low. I feel like personally, just a ballpark guess, I feel like that number is usually in like the 20s. Like there's usually 20 people in attendance. And I saw something that the NFL thinks that it's a bad look for players if they're sitting in the green room, kind of like a Brian Branch situation. or a Will Levis last year who was sitting in the green room who were expected to go in the top 5, top 15, and they slid to the second round. So I saw that the NFL is trying to avoid that. So do you think that Detroit's kind of getting a short end of the stick here?
I have seen some memes. I've seen some tweets. I've seen some comments talking about who would want to come to Detroit, and kind of like the Micah Parsons thing, man. If I see it, uh, I'm immediately pissed off by it, because unless you've been downtown, you probably don't know what we have. We got a special city. We got a blue collar city. It's beautiful downtown. And for people to say, outsiders especially, to say that, man, I wouldn't even travel there. I just don't buy it, man. I think that and I even noticed that JJ McCarthy, and I know you had made mention to something that I hadn't heard, that he didn't accept the invite soon enough. But I read an article saying that JJ McCarthy didn't even accept the invite. But JJ is a different type of dude, man. I really doubt that it was a knock on Detroit. JJ is the type of guy I could see wanting to be with his family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like JG's like, he's the guy that's meditating before the football games. Uh the few players that I've gotten to come in contact with through camps and stuff like that, I haven't met JJ, but some of my kids, man, they've asked about him and asked questions and just asked the players questions about hardball and stuff like that. And just hearing about JJ, I've heard he's a super humble, kind of chill vibes dude. So I can't see him knocking the city. I strongly believe that he just wanted to be with his family, or he had a plan for that, and didn't have anything to do with the city of Detroit. But maybe some people who don't know about the city, man, feel like there's some negative connotations about it, but I don't think that that's it, man. I think that watching those guys in the green room, Brian Branch was another one, man. And hats off to Brian Branch for showing up day 2, because he said he was going to walk across that stage, period. But watching those guys, man, the camera panning to him, constantly talking about him, hey, he's still here. Hey, will anybody draft him? Just watching every reaction. It's got to be tough. But what did we get? Because with all the drama, with negative days, what do a lot of people do? I know our quarterback takes those negative days and he uses that as fuel. I know Brian Branch said, I'm going to show everybody, I'm going to show all 31 teams that passed on me that they missed out on a real one. So, hey, I don't know, man. I get what the NFL is saying. It's a tough spot for a kid to be in, but at the end of the day, adversity sometimes, man, makes special things happen. Takes pressure to make diamonds.
It's true. Real quick, city of Detroit. Yeah, man, we got a bad reputation. I get it, like the early 2000s through 2010, like, yeah, the city was bankrupt, wasn't doing too well. It's bounced back. Like it's a city. I've been to several cities, and every city has a bad part of town. If you know where to go and where not to go, you'll be just fine. If you know where to hang out, downtown Detroit, Greektown, Campus Martius, where the draft's going to be, by Little Caesars Arena, Ford Field, all that's perfectly fine. You're going to find some good people. There's some bad neighborhoods. There's some bad neighborhoods that you probably shouldn't venture around alone. That's all I'm going to say about that. But also, one last thing about Latu that I forgot to mention is UCLA kid played against USC Trojans. That's where Caleb Williams is probably going to go be playing for the Bears. So a little inside information. Latu had some pretty good games against USC the last couple of years. He was very disruptive. He was in Caleb Williams' back pocket. He was nipping on his toes, swiping at those feet a couple times, making him uncomfortable. So that's another thing that I look for. You kind of have to play chess a little bit with the teams in your division, the Bears, the Packers, the Vikings. You got to look and see what they're doing. I'm not saying your draft board has to, you have to move pieces around your draft board to negate what they do. But I think Latu, Caleb Williams, that's a matchup we could be watching for the next 10 years, possibly. So a little inside information from Latu wouldn't hurt to have on the team.
Yeah, man, I agree. Quick question. Latu, man, I've seen people in the comments talking about Latu, and they're saying that not just Latu, man. I've seen people in our comments saying that they don't believe that any of these edge rushers are truly impact players in a sense of they're going to be special like an Aiden Hutchinson. They're going to be special like one of the premier edge rushers in the league. And maybe we shouldn't be looking to one of these edges in the top of this draft at pick 29 or trading up. Do you believe, I'm not even going to get into the other two. We're just going to talk about Latu just because we're talking about guys that are going to be intended for the draft. Do you believe that Latu is a guy that is going to be special in the NFL.
I think he's one of three. I think him, Jared Verse, Dallas Turner are the top three pass rushers in this league. And then there's about 7 or 8 guys I really like that I'd be comfortable with in round 2. But those are my top 3. For people, I had someone say, man, Steve, I'm glad you're not a scout for the Detroit Lions. I mean, yeah, I do work a normal job. And then we do this on the side for a little fun.
Yeah.
I'm not a scout. I'm not a coach. I'm a diehard fan. I watch football religiously so much that my wife knows in the fall, Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays, Saturdays, it's football. You want to watch The Bachelor, you got to go upstairs. All right. Like daddy's watching football. That's what's going to be going on down here. I don't miss games. I watch a lot of football. I think that those 3 are the cream of the crop. And then there's 7, 8, maybe up to 10 guys, if I had a list in front of me, that I really, really like. I don't want to say names because we got a mock draft coming up in a week. You guys will have to stay tuned for that. But also, like I said, without anybody walking across the stage for the Detroit Lions, I think fans need to get ready for a trade back scenario.
Yeah.
Not that it affects anything and it doesn't mean much. I mean, we drafted Frank Ragnow and he was out on his fishing boat catching salmon or whatever the hell he was fishing for at the time he was drafted. Like it happens. But with it being in the city of Detroit this year, and like you said, probably not going to happen again for quite a while because Detroit's not exactly like a vacation spot. It's not Miami or LA or New York where people travel to, but Detroit's going to be packed. I expect at least 300,000-400,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
People follow the NFL. Like it's going to be busy. So this is something that I'm kind of looking forward to and seeing someone come across the stage as a Lion fan, but that's just me being a fan.
Yeah.
From a football standpoint, I don't give a shit. I care about watching them wreck a quarterback or do whatever they got to do on Sundays more important.
Yeah. I'm excited, man, for one of these guys to potentially be the guy, man, and just I hope that they intermingle. I hope that they intermingle that day. I hope that they dive in that day. And it doesn't have to be with us, but just I love seeing when the following day when they fly into town and they do the press conferences and they normally go see like American Coney and some of the staples of the city. I love that, man. I love guys getting right to it, man, and getting involved in the community and the city. So the opportunity for us, to see our guy shake the commissioner's hands and immediately start that process is something that I see as exciting, man. But if it doesn't happen, it is what it is. Just like you said, man, I'm not going to lose too much sleep over it. I'm just hoping that we get a great football player.
Here's a question.
Talk to me.
Last question, more of like a guess. Who do you think in the second round is the guest picker for the Detroit Lions? Like last year, it was Amon-Ra St. Brown. Who do you think it's going to be?
Man, with it being in Detroit, man, I gotta think that it's gonna be Aiden Hutchinson.
Think so?
He's a fan favorite, man. Like just Aiden not being out there and around. He's probably the face of the franchise to me, even ahead of our quarterback. I know typically it's the quarterback, but I think Aiden is the face of the franchise. Being from Michigan, clean cut dude, hard worker, blue collars, represents everything that Detroit players are supposed to be about. I think it should be Aiden Hutchinson. I love how he gets pumped up. Maybe he throws the eye black over the eye and gets out there. I would be pumped up for it.
Do the Billie Jean dance too?
You never know.
I think I got a little hunch. I think it's going to be Billy Sims.
Ooh,
I saw
some barbecue with him.
I saw a little. He posted something on Twitter the other day, and it just kind of sparked me. Like, I wonder if Billy Sims is going to be the guest picker for the Lions in round 2. Because last year it was Amon-Ra St. Brown. I know Barry Sanders has done it in the past. I think Calvin's done it one time too, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Hutch was going to be my current player guess, but alumni legend Billy Sims was my pick.
Yeah.
Guys, leave some comments down below. Let us know how you feel about the city of Detroit. Is this a little disrespectful that we're only getting 13 guys coming here to walk across the stage? How are you going to react when the Bears draft Caleb Williams? How loud will those boos be? Leave some comments, hit that like button, stick around, subscribe. We'll be back later with some more content.
Peace.